Good morning, party people. Happy Sunday. Hold on, give me 2 seconds. I gotta tell y'all something. I got some tea. I hope you can hear me. Hold on. Okay, so I just woke up from a power nap. I don't know if you can hear me or not. This is definitely impromptu, but I want to hop on here and say something to whoever come across this. Because it's something I heard when I woke up from my power nap. I literally heard, hold on. First of all, Roscoe looking. No, this is what I heard when I woke up from my power nap. And I don't know who this is for and what this is all about, but I'm going to ponder on it too. And I heard, to not make a decision is a decision. I was like, oh man, what you trying to show me now? He said, to not make a decision is a decision. I don't know. I heard that when I was walking the dog. Sorry if I'm low. Hold on, I'm going to get up on it. Let me just finish this real quick. But I just thought to myself, what could that mean? To not make a decision is a decision? I know it means really, but I'm just saying, like, why that popped in my head? Out of all things? Out of all things. Ain't that something? And then this is what I started hearing too. I started hearing this. I started hearing, it's some saying when they be like, I can tell you a man's future if you show me his past or something like that. I could tell you what a man's future will be if you let me see his past. And I thought, why is that popping in my head? And then secondly, I thought, well, how the hell is that fair? Because people change and evolve, so how would that be something that popped in my head that for something to be a valid thing to think or say, about people. But I've heard that somewhere, I can't recall where, but I thought, why is that coming up? I can tell you a man's future if you let me see his past or something like that. And I thought, no, that ain't right, because I don't believe people are fixed. I believe people are able to change, but you can't make nobody change. They got to be ready and willing to do it on their own, right? So then here comes the download of what that really means. Give me a second. I gotta get up in there. This is what that means. I can tell you. Oh, wait a minute. I can tell you a man's future if you let me see his past. So then the download came in. They ain't talking about his literal past. It ain't talking about his lifetime past necessarily when they say that. I don't know how that quote goes specifically. I'm paraphrasing. Don't quote me on it. I might even be slightly off, but just go with me. What he talking about is this. Or what that could potentially mean is this. I can tell you a man's future if you let me see his past. That's got something to do with his roots, his lineage, bloodline, where he coming from. Something like this. Because I said, well, what do you mean by that? Okay, because people change, so you can't just say that like that. Or why would that be a saying or something that people just put out there? And then the way it came to me was that this is why it's so important to do those heritage tests or those them tests, ancestry tests, so you know your bloodline, know what kind of DNA, what kind of ancestry, what's in your blood, because you might look one way, but you got, everybody got a little bit of mix of something in there. And so I thought, oh, that's got something to do with that. I can tell you a man's future if you let me see his past. To me, that's got something to do with, depending on what kind of ancestry you got in your DNA can have a huge impact on determining your future. Meaning, it's almost like he was bringing it to me like what would be under attack for a lot of people that creates lack and dissatisfaction in people's life. It's got something to do with the beliefs that they have, that are convictions that they hold, that are deep within their subconscious mind. And that's what's behind the scene navigating the way they live life, the way they think, what they believe they can have, what they believe they deserve, their sense of self-worth and worthiness and lovableness. And all that is wrapped up in, all of the way you see yourself is wrapped up in your belief systems. But your belief systems, your belief systems and convictions that you have that are deep rooted in your subconscious mind were programmed in you, but they're coming down a bloodline. So that he said you need to know your ancestry, because then you can kind of, any areas of lack or scarcity in your life, if you can know your ancestry, you can maybe trace back any potential time period in history where some blood, something in your DNA, something that you got in you connected to some time period in history where maybe there was some oppression going on. And depending on if those mindsets or beliefs or wounds were cleared in the psychology, that stuff be passed down the bloodline. Essentially, that's what he put to me, or that's what he brought to me. That, especially oppressive thoughts and scarcity mindset, lack mentality, that kind of stuff. I'm not good enough. I don't have any self-worth. You know, I gotta overgive and all this people please in order to have any sense of self-worth, or whatever this thing could potentially be. But it was like, I just heard that I could tell you a man's future by you let me see his past. I think this got something to do with what's in this person's blood. Because if you got a hint of DNA in you that's got something to do with any population or marginalized group or any culture of people who were potentially oppressed or went through anything super harsh, I don't care. It could be anything in the recent past or in the ancient past. If that potentially is in your psychological DNA, in your pathological psychological DNA, or I don't know exactly the wording for it. And so if some of that stuff, that's why it's so important. He just brought me back to, that's why it's so important to be courageous enough to do your healing work. Because whether you know it or not, them beliefs and stuff be still deeply rooted in your psychology, and it be governing how you see yourself. Your self-belief, what do you think you can have? What do you think you deserve? And you be a prisoner to that and don't be knowing. He said it's got something to do with the belief systems, but like Bruce Lipton talking about that. Well, but who's programming you? Who programs people's beliefs and how the convictions that they have and hold to be true in their day-to-day life currently? Who was the person that programmed that psychology or certain beliefs, especially the ones that are potentially showing up in a person's life currently that are related and it's impacting their ability to see themselves clearly? They got this lack. They don't feel good enough, low self-worth, self-perception and worldview is distorted. Somewhere them beliefs was implanted down the bloodline way back there. And it impact you today, whether you want to believe it or not. And that's why you got to be still and do that healing work. Otherwise, you be getting ran by some beliefs that was programmed into your psychology, psychology to be something that's true, even though the beliefs were actually beliefs that were always set up and orchestrated to oppress you, keep a foot on your neck, keep some kind of chain on your brain, make it where you don't see yourself clearly. And that's what he brought to my mind. So I can tell you a man's future by you letting me see his past. Not meaning his real past and not necessarily in his lifetime, but what is this person's ancestry coming from? What's in the blood? What's in the bloodline like that? And that's why, I don't know, I guess he just put it on my mind of why it's so important to be willing to do that. You got to be willing to do that healing work. Otherwise, man, you be oppressed and you don't even be knowing it. And you could be, I don't care what color you is. You can look white, you can look this, look that. But if you got some DNA in your blood of any population of a people who was potentially oppressed or made to feel less than, or what is the word, subservient or any of that in your DNA, and then you got places in your life currently that are not up to par, you're discontent and frustrated, don't know why you can't overcome this or that, it's a chance that it's some of that, it's the belief systems that's been programmed. Like, what's that lady? I forgot her name. The Apostle Izzy mentioned that. So the belief systems typically that's govern the way we move in the world, depending on what they are, they can be empowering, but they could be disempowering and oppressive as hell. And if dark psychology, and something about if dark psychology affect one generation, it could affect one whole generation. But if it's not cleared or cleared, or if it's not reverse engineered, healed through, I think she's going to take one generation, and then that crap is passed down through the bloodline year after year after year. And then if eventually you get to a point where if after the fourth generation of it, that kind of distorted or flawed way of viewing yourself is perpetuated, it gets thrown under the label of just being the culture at that point. So culture, that's just the way it is. That's just the way it is. Oh no, Black people don't open businesses. No, that's just way. Or whatever. I'm just saying hypothetically. So I think that's why he brought me to that. To not make a decision is a decision. I can tell you a person's future if you let me see his past. Oh, damn. So I had to get on here and share that. I said, somebody might need to hear that. And I might not necessarily even be saying it as clearly as I would like to. I did just wake up from that power nap, but it was coming through. Then I was hearing this. We come too far to give up who we are. You know that song? I'm up all night to get lucky. That song. So I linked that. Maybe it's a message in that. At least that part. We come too far to give up who we are. But yeah, I had to ponder on that. Like, why is that in my mind? So the beliefs and the ideas and perspectives and convictions that we have currently in our mind that we hold to be true, those aren't beliefs. Those are imprints on our psychology that's coming from history. Yeah, like that's what you said. Who gave you your beliefs? Who gave you your beliefs and ideas and perspectives and perceptions? Especially when you think about your outlook on what you think you can do and who you think you are and what rights or whether you need permission or not to live in your highest form of authenticity and power and accept your authentic power and do and become your highest timeline version of yourself. What kind of beliefs is in there? Because some people got beliefs in their psychology that literally make them think that, I know my dad used to say that, I'm not trying to act like I know everything. That song was imprinted on the psychology. I remember hearing that coming up. So in somewhere that was imprinted on psychology, not necessarily from his parents, but that could have just been coming from the DNA, the lineage of us being African descent people, almost like a slave. The way in ancient history, slave masters can distort a psychology of an oppressed oppressed people, brown people back then. That psychology could be still trending down. And so I could see why he probably would think that he needed to say that. And it continued to play out. And that got a lot to do with what impact people from stepping into their calling, because they damn to fit in because they don't want to make somebody feel uncomfortable to see them step in their full power. That stuff that'd be chokeholds and yokes on psychology that be coming from history. And that's what he brought to mind. So that's why it's important to, like they say, question your beliefs and your thoughts. You have to. You got to be willing to do that. Question your beliefs and your thoughts, because the convictions, beliefs, and thoughts that you have sometimes, if you have any area of dissatisfaction, discontent, lack in your life, somewhere there's a belief system that's not supporting what you really want. But who gave you that belief? Who gave you that belief system? Somewhere in ancient history, it was done. It was implanted in there. And any psychological impression on the mind, especially, hey, that's a spiritual seed. So that's what be playing out. And that's why we seem like generations of people be having these cycles of oppression, cycles of abuse, cycles of drug use, cycles of pedophilia, or whatever it is. Because them these spiritual seeds be planted and implanted in people's psychology, the first generation or sometimes. And if it come down a bloodline without ever getting corrected and just corrected and put back in the right perspective, that's a spiritual seed that keeps it continually gets harvested through each lineage, even if it's flawed. It don't be matter. And that's why it's so important. You have, at some point, you got to be willing to take self accountability to look at what the hell you be thinking and what you be believing. And it's just sad. I don't know, but it's almost like they don't want you to even think like that. That's thinking too critical. I know my pops used to say that. No, I don't walk down in the ocean. No, but maybe we should be doing that, because it's like straight up, like places in your life that shit ain't acting right. That's because that's a belief. It's some kind of dark ass seed implanted in your subconscious mind that's coming from somewhere in history, probably not from your people, but that psychology, that seed was implanted in the psychology of your ancestors somewhere in the bloodline, and it wasn't cleared, and you still being held to that. It's got you ensnared in some way, and that's what be going on. So anyway, I just want to get on here and just share that, because that came to my mind. I'm still processing through it too. But you almost can see it. Like, yeah, you can almost see the writing on the wall, what be going on. And the sad part is you can see it and see it in yourself, but then you can also see it and have a little bit of empathy, but almost be confused. Like when you see somebody who wants to stay like that, it reminds me of, I don't know the story exactly about people getting free from Egypt, but they want to go back type. Like, no. Break that shit off your mind and stay free. And I ain't even talking about like legit ass slavery, but it's just being ensnared and trapped. And then the sad part about it is it's almost set up to where, and in your own culture, you'll try to keep doing that to you because somewhere in the bloodline that the marginalized groups of people and stuff, it's like the oppression be so bad. In order for you to get any sense of self-worth, you end up taking on the mentality and the attitude of the people who oppressed the whole group to begin with, just to get some sense of validation or feeling like you somebody who important. You almost take that on and do it to your own folks because you're so unconscious. You don't even know what's governing. You're so unconscious. You don't know why you wounded, why you feel lack and less than, and then so the only way you can feel better is if you do stupid shit to your own folks. So it's a vicious cycle. That's what that crab in the bucket stuff be. And it's just sad. And that's why, but the only way you can overcome it is you got to be willing to look in the mirror so you can clear that out. But that's a sad life. That's a sad way to be living. To be that unconscious that you that unconscious and that insecure and seeing yourself in such a distorted way that you almost take on the mentality of the people who impressed your folks to begin with. And that's why you be seeing all that hating and shit, that envious, can't collab the right way, jealous, try to keep you back, try to keep a foot on your neck. You can get a little farther, don't get too much farther than me to all that old shit. That's an implant on the psychology. That's what that be, coming down the bloodline. And that's why it's important to do the healing work and understand who you are in Christ and what God say about you, and uproot all that shit, uproot it all and replace it with who God says you are. That's the only hope you got. That's the only hope you got, or whatever your religious beliefs are, whatever name you tie to your faith, you have to replace. I wrote a little note to myself last night. I just was thinking about that. Like, I can't pinpoint exactly all the things that might still be in my subconscious, but I said, that's what I heard earlier. To not make a decision is a decision. Well, I know last night I made a conscious decision. I said, from this moment forward, any and every, let me read this. This is good. Hold on. I ain't with the shits. I had to write it down because I said, I got a funny feeling this is the key. This is the damn answer. Because what be going on is programming and conditioning and psychology. I wrote this to myself. I said, what if you made a conscious decision? This is me talking to myself. I'm making this conscious decision to evict out of my mind every pessimistic, disempowering, degrading, blaming, shaming, victimizing, criticizing, bullying, low vibing thought, idea, perspective, perception, belief that I have of myself. I'm done with that. And anytime that shit come in my head, I'm snapping out of that and I'm saying something else about myself. So to reprogram that shit, because I think that's what be making people's life miserable. And I think what's at the root is that it's them beliefs. It's the attack, spiritual war for all that is at the root of that. It's an attack on your belief system. And if your belief systems and how you see yourself, your self-perception and identity and your sense of self-worth, if that gets screwed with, any and everything you almost be planting, any seeds you be planting be rooted in an oppressive ass seed because you ain't even seeing yourself clearly, especially if the seeds in the place where your action is being taken from, as far as the subconscious beliefs go, if the beliefs is fucked up and flawed about how you see yourself, of course you're going to be living in a space of, I'm not good enough. Because that shit is in your psychology deep down in there and you ain't looking at it and bringing it up to the surface. To address it, to pluck it out. Like I said, that's some weeds that be in your head. But you can evict that shit out of there. You can weed whack that up out of there. They ain't got to just be standing there like that. Unless you just, but sometimes you can be so used to that. That's your comfort zone. And then somebody come along and tell you that, no, you ain't got to think like that. You be looking at them like they're crazy. And I don't want that for me or nobody else. So I just wanted to share with y'all what I heard and the decision that I made. I don't give a damn who agree with it or not. You want to stay pessimistic and negative and talking about yourself and in the head and all that shit, down yourself, degrading yourself, man. If you don't get the hell out of here with that, you can keep that over there. And that's how you got to be with people who's determined to stay in that mentality. Because the only thing that's going to shift your reality or make anything change in your life, it first starts within. So you got to shift from within first. Ain't nothing on the outside going to make no permanent change if you still the same in the inside. How you gonna win when you ain't right within? She said that. So I just wanted to share that with y'all. I love y'all. I'll probably be back when I get out this sleepy fall. But I heard that we come too far to give up who we are. Remember that. We came too far. And we all standing on shoulders of giants, people who came before us, who has had it harder than us. But we still got to continue to make waves, man. I'm hearing that waves after waves, waves slowly drifting. That dude, Mr. Probe or something. I'm going to link that too. That's a good song. Okay, I'm going. I love y'all. I'll talk to y'all later.